Here is part 1 of your HFY story, cinematic, epic, and immersive. The void stretched endlessly, an ocean of black pierced by distant stars whose light had traveled for eons to reach nothing. In that darkness, an alien fleet advanced with arrogance, engines blazing, weapons primed, confident in technology and centuries of conquest. They had been warned. Humanity was not a foe to underestimate, but warnings had always been convenient to ignore. Far beyond their sensor grids, a single signal flickered, quiet yet insistent. The humans had detected the approach of the alien armada and prepared, not with panic, but with precision refined over generations. Every ship, every pilot, every strategy had been forged on worlds that demanded survival against impossible odds. Humanity had endured where lesser species had perished, adapted where extinction awaited, and now they were ready to demonstrate the truth of their reputation. From the depths of the void, the first human warship appeared. Its colossal hull shimmered with dark energy, rings of pulsing light rotating along its circumference, engines glowing with contained fury. This was no plea, no negotiation, it was a declaration. The resolute vow moved with unstoppable intent, cutting through the darkness like a predator claiming its domain. Alien sensors scanned the massive vessel, registering a presence beyond comprehension. Its scale, its power, its audacity were unforeseen. Below, volcanic planets and jagged terrain had forged a species unbroken by fire, acid, storms, and gravity beyond imagination. Those very forces, once thought to be curse, had become tools, weapons, and advantages. A first probe from the alien fleet scanned the humans' defenses, sending data back to commanders. The humans observed silently, every reading processed, every potential weakness noted and nullified. They did not strike immediately. Patience was a weapon as deadly as any torpedo. Survival had taught them to wait, to study, to exploit the inevitable, and in the infinite darkness, a single truth echoed across the void. They had been warned, but warnings do not bind the determined. Here is part 2, continuing your HFY story with the first engagement in human tactical brilliance. The alien fleet surged forward, engines roaring, weapons primed to annihilate. They expected hesitation, weakness, fear. They expected humans to falter before the impossible. They assumed wrong. The resolute vow led the human fleet, a colossal shadow in the void, its dark hull pulsing with quiet, controlled energy. Behind it, smaller vessels maneuvered with precision, weaving through asteroid belts and magnetic storms, every movement calculated. The humans turned every hazard into advantage: volcanic storms, molten fissures, and gravitational anomalies became instruments of war, bending the battlefield to their will. The first salvo struck. Crimson energy beams sliced the darkness, aimed to pierce shields and hull alike. But human shields flared with brilliance, absorbing, deflecting, and redirecting the attacks. Torpedoes streaked forward, guided by instinct, training, and centuries of ingenuity, finding gaps the aliens had believed impossible. Each strike neutralized a threat, or turned it into an opportunity. Fighters darted through plasma storms, weaving around deadly arcs of energy before striking isolated cruisers. Gravity wells generated by the resolute vow twisted enemy movements, scattering squadrons, immobilizing dreadnoughts. Chaos, once feared, became a tool of mastery. The Dominion flagship surged, unleashing a salvo meant to crush the human lead. Every attack was anticipated. Every vector had been calculated. The humans did not react in anger, they acted with inevitability. Smaller vessels drifted helplessly, trapped by the precise orchestration of strategy born from survival on worlds designed to destroy them. The alien commanders watched in disbelief. Their centuries of experience counted for nothing against a species that had learned to survive the impossible, that had turned adversity into dominance, that refused to bow. They had been warned. They had ignored it. And now, the humans answered, not with mercy, not with hesitation, but with mastery. Here is part 3, escalating the battle and showcasing human tactical brilliance. The void ignited as the full clash began. Alien beams tore through the darkness, red and violet streaks slicing toward the human fleet. Torpedoes and plasma arrays cut through alien formations, striking with surgical precision. The Dominion had anticipated resistance, but nothing like this, a species forged on worlds that would have crushed any lesser opponent, now turning the battlefield itself into a weapon. The resolute Vow advanced steadily, colossal and unyielding, its energy rings glowing with controlled intensity. Shields shimmered as they bent and dispersed incoming fire, turning assaults into opportunities. Every maneuver, every decision, every strike was intentional, the distilled result of centuries of adaptation and survival. Fighters darted through asteroid belts and molten storms, striking isolated vessels before vanishing into volcanic clouds. Gravity wells twisted enemy trajectories, separating squadrons, isolating dreadnoughts, and turning overwhelming numbers into chaos. Space itself bent to the human strategy, the void became a canvas for their mastery. A Dominion flagship surged forward, unleashing a salvo meant to destroy the lead ship. It was anticipated. Every torpedo and beam was neutralized, redirected, or absorbed. Smaller escorts drifted, immobilized by invisible forces. Centuries of alien arrogance, of conquest and discipline, faltered under the quiet inevitability of human precision. From the bridge of the resolute Vow, officers adjusted holographic displays, predicted vectors, and orchestrated strikes. Humans were not reacting, they were conducting a symphony of war, turning chaos into advantage, threats into lessons. The Dominion hesitated. Confidence turned into uncertainty. They had underestimated a species shaped by fire, storms, and impossible gravity. They had ignored the warnings, and now, humanity's response was relentless, precise, and undeniable. The galaxy would remember the day humans dictated the void. Here is part 4, showing humanity gaining decisive control and turning the battlefield into a weapon. The Dominion fleet staggered, their formations fracturing under pressure they could not comprehend. Every tactic, every maneuver, every assumption was met with flawless countermeasures born of worlds that demanded survival against impossibility. The resolute Vow moved with relentless calm, a colossus of dark steel pulsing with quiet power, energy rings spinning like a heartbeat of inevitability. Molten rivers, lightning storms, and jagged canyons below became instruments of war. Human fighters weaved through plasma arcs and volcanic clouds, striking isolated cruisers before vanishing into environmental chaos. Gravity wells twisted enemy vectors, immobilizing dreadnoughts and scattering squadrons. The battlefield was no longer neutral, it belonged to humanity. The Dominion fired in desperation. Torpedoes streaked through the void, particle beams cut through the darkness, and massive warships unleashed volleys meant to annihilate. Every attack was anticipated. Every strike countered. Every strategy undone. Humans did not rush, they acted with deliberate inevitability, converting chaos into mastery. A flagship made a bold assault, unleashing its heaviest weapons. Shields faltered, engines faltered, and escorts drifted helplessly around it, trapped by invisible forces. The arrogance of centuries crumbled in the face of instinct honed on death worlds. Where survival was never guaranteed, and weakness meant instant death, the bridge of the resolute Vow glowed with holographic displays, officers observing, adjusting, predicting, dominating. Humanity did not merely survive, they dictated, reshaped, and conquered. The Dominion's confidence collapsed, stripped bare by the quiet, relentless assertion of human supremacy. They had been warned, they had ignored it, and now, they faced the true consequence of Deathworld or defiance. Here is part 5, escalating to the decisive confrontation. The Dominion fleet teetered on the brink of annihilation. Engines sputtered, shields flickered, and weapons systems went silent. The humans advanced with measured precision. Each movement a calculated demonstration of supremacy. Every strike, every maneuver, every deployment reflected centuries of survival on worlds that would have destroyed any lesser species. The resolute Vow surged forward, colossal and unyielding. Gravitational distortions radiated outward, bending enemy movements, twisting trajectories, and immobilizing dreadnoughts. Alien torpedoes dissipated harmlessly, particle beams faltered mid-flight, and entire squadrons drifted frozen in the void. Space itself became a human instrument, every hazard transformed into an advantage. Fighters darted through molten storms, lightning arcs, and volcanic fissures, striking isolated vessels with perfect timing before vanishing into chaos. The humans turned environmental dangers into allies, every misstep of the enemy exploited with ruthless precision. Humanity's mastery of adversity turned overwhelming numbers into tactical superiority. A massive Dominion flagship attempted a final desperate assault. The humans did not strike with anger, they acted with inevitability. Gravitational pulses locked its engines, shields collapsed, and smaller escorts drifted helplessly, corralled like prey. Centuries of arrogance dissolved in silence before the quiet, relentless mastery of human strategy. No cheer erupted aboard the Resolute Vow. There was no need. The victory had been achieved through calculated dominance, a lesson in survival, ingenuity, and unyielding pride. The Dominion had underestimated a species forged by fire, storms, and crushing gravity. They had been warned. They had ignored it. And now, they faced the force of human defiance, unyielding, precise, unstoppable. Across the void, one truth resonated with undeniable clarity: Deathworlders do not bow. Here is part 6, the epic conclusion and cinematic outro of your HFY story. The Dominion fleet lay fractured and broken, drifting silently through the void. Massive warships hovered helplessly, engines dead, shields dormant, command shattered. At the heart of the battlefield, the Resolute Vow loomed like a sentinel, its colossal hull dark and pulsing. Energy rings spinning with quiet authority. Humanity did not celebrate. There was no need. Their mastery of the fight spoke louder than any cheer. Around the Resolute Vow, the Deathworlder fleet moved with flawless precision. Fighters wove through molten storms and plasma arcs, torpedoes streaked through volcanic fissures, every action deliberate, every maneuver executed with perfect timing. The battlefield itself had become an instrument of human supremacy, alive with strategy, intelligence, and the instinct of a species forged by worlds that would have destroyed the weak. The Dominion's final acts of defiance proved meaningless. Torpedoes flared and dissipated, particle beams bent uselessly. Dreadnoughts remained immobilized. Humans did not act with haste or anger, they acted with inevitability. The alien fleet had underestimated a species that had turned adversity into dominance, danger into opportunity, survival into mastery. From the bridge of the Resolute Vow, officers observed silently. The galaxy itself seemed to pause, witnessing humanity assert control over the impossible. Planets below trembled, storms raged, molten rivers glowed under alien shadows, but nothing could shake the calm certainty of human supremacy. The Dominion had been warned. They had ignored it. And now, they had witnessed the force of a species that refused to bow, that could not be defeated. And that would endure across eons. And as the Resolute Vow pulsed softly in the silent expanse, one truth echoed across the void.